In the Wild West of the late 1800s, the town of Deadwood was a place where lawlessness reigned supreme. There was a brave man determined to put an end to that situation. He is Seth Bullock, the legendary sheriff of Deadwood, South Dakota. In this video, we'll explore the incredible life and legacy of Seth Bullock, who became the most iconic sheriff in the history of the Wild West. Seth Bullock is a border guard, business owner, politician, sheriff, and United States Marshal, who has made a name for himself in Deadwood, South Dakota. Seth Bullock was born on July 23, 1849, in Amherstburg, Ontario, Canada. His father, a retired British Army sergeant and hero, George Bullock, was active in politics in Sandwich, Ontario. He's often mistaken for British General Sir George Bullock, who is actually younger than Seth. Agnes Findlay, Seth's mother, was a Scottish woman. Unfortunately, Bullock's childhood was not happy. By 1860, his father had to resign as county treasurer due to lack of money and fled across the border to Detroit, Michigan, leaving behind 8 children. Bullock's mother passed away during this time, and the children had to take care of themselves. Property owned by Bullock's father in Sandwich was confiscated by creditors and sold. At a public auction in 1863, his family lost their home because their father defaulted on his mortgage and other debts. In addition, Bullock's father was known for his strict discipline and often beat Seth for minor infractions. So, his childhood was miserable. At the age of 16, Bullock decided to run away from home, leaving to live temporarily with his older sister, Jessie Bullock, in Montana. At the age of 18, he permanently left his homeland. Seth Bullock moved to Helena, Montana in 1867. He was a man with many aspirations and ran for the first time for the territorial legislature, but was unsuccessful. He then went on to be elected as a Republican and served in the Territorial Senate in 1871 and 1872, where he played a key role in the founding of Yellowstone National Park. In 1873, he was elected sheriff of Lewis and Clark County, Montana. During his time as sheriff, Bullock faced his first real test when he killed Clell Watson, a horse thief. In the famous gunfight between Watson and Bullock, Bullock was slightly wounded in the shoulder. Watson was later arrested and sentenced to hang, but a mob interrupted the proceedings and scared the executioner away. In that situation, the very decisive Bullock quickly climbed to the scaffold and pulled the lever, executing Watson himself. The event would later be recounted on the HBO series Deadwood, although in the show Watson was hanged on the steps of the sheriff's office. After this event, Bullock and his business partner, Sol Starr, opened a hardware store. In August 1876, they decided to expand their business into the gold mining town of Deadwood, located in the Dakota Territory. The two men bought a lot and set up shop called Office of Starr and Bullock, Auctioneers and Commission Merchants. They started out in a small tent, but eventually a large building became their home. By the time they arrived, Deadwood had already gained a reputation as a hell-raising camp filled with miners, transients, gamblers, outlaws, and prostitutes. Just 2 days before Seth Bullock and Sol Starr arrived, the infamous Wild Bill Hickok was tragically murdered by Jack McCall. While Hickok was engrossed in a poker game, the cowardly McCall shot him in the head from behind. Incredibly, McCall was later acquitted by a makeshift camp court and released, only to quickly flee town. However, sometime later, McCall was retried and ultimately found guilty of execution. Following the murder of Hickok sent shockwaves throughout Deadwood, creating an urgent need for a law enforcement presence. It was around this time that Seth Bullock's experience made him the logical choice for Deadwood's first sheriff. He was appointed to this important position by Governor Pennington of the Dakota Territory in March 1877. Later that year, a special election was held in Lawrence County, the heart of Deadwood. Bullock ran as the Republican nominee for sheriff, while John J. Manning represented the Democratic Party. As a result, Manning won the election, becoming the first elected sheriff of Lawrence County. Bullock's tenure as the appointed police chief, marked by determination and integrity, lasted about 9 months. In 1878, Bullock resolved to once again contest the position of sheriff and faced incumbent John Manning. As fate would have it, however, Manning prevailed, securing another 2-year sheriff's term. During his tenure as appointed sheriff, Bullock took his job seriously, representing some of the residents and dealing with camp civilization. Despite his reputation for courage and unwavering commitment to justice, Bullock completed the mission without killing anyone. It was during this period that Bullock had a few skirmishes with Al Swearingen, the owner of the infamous Gym Theater, Deadwood's most famous brothel. Swearingen is a figure with great influence and control over the camp. In 1884, while taking a horse thief named Crazy Steve to Deadwood for trial, Bullock ran into Theodore Roosevelt. Roosevelt was then a deputy sheriff from Medora, North Dakota, and the two talked and shared coffee next to a tricycle on a pasture near Belfort. The pair quickly formed a friendship that would last through Bullock's lifetime. Roosevelt later said of Bullock, "Seth Bullock is a true Westerner, the finest type of frontiersman." In the late 1880s, Seth Bullock further contributed to the economic development of the area by persuading the Fremont, Elkhorn, and Missouri Valley Railroad to build free railroads that ran through the vast ranch located 3 miles northwest of the town of Minnesota. The railroad started operating in 1890, marking the birth of the town of Belfort, an ambitious business venture planned by Seth himself. In a gesture of generosity, Bullock and his partner Sol Star provided lots of free lots to anyone willing to relocate from Minnesota to Belfort. Soon, the new settlement quickly flourished. Belfort became the largest cattle transshipment point in the entire United States. In 1894, Bullock and Starr's hardware store in Deadwood was destroyed by a devastating fire. Seth Bullock decided to build Deadwood's first hotel right on top of the store's ruins. This magnificent 3-story, 64-room facility, equipped with luxury amenities like steam heating and bathrooms on each floor, costs $40,000. The Bullock Hotel, completed in 1896, quickly became a popular and sought-after destination. This historic hotel still exists today, continuing to offer accommodation as well as a casino. When the Spanish-American War broke out in 1898, Bullock's friendship with Roosevelt led to his becoming a captain of Troop A in Rigby's Cowboy Regiment. However, Troop A never left training camp in Louisiana before the war ended. Bullock earned the rank of captain. When Theodore Roosevelt was elected president, Bullock organized a large group of 50 cowboys, including Tom Mix, to ride in the presidential inaugural parade in 1905. Later that year, Roosevelt appointed Seth Bullock as United States Marshal for South Dakota, a position he held for the next 9 years. The sudden death of Theodore Roosevelt in January 1919 was a devastating blow to Seth Bullock. Soon after, Bullock erected a monument to him with the help of the Black Hill Pioneers, which was inaugurated on July 4, 1919, on Sheep Mountain, which was renamed Mount Roosevelt. Just a few months later, Seth Bullock died of cancer on September 23, 1919, at his home at 28 Van Buren Street in Deadwood. He is buried in Mount Moriah Cemetery, along with several legendary figures of the Old West, including Wild Bill Hickok and Calamity Jane. His grave faces Mount Roosevelt, but the view is now obscured by the growth of large pines in the gravesite.